Welcome to a playoff edition of Hartley Hawks Football Game Day. It's being brought to you by Hutta and Price Orthodontics. I'm Bob McElligott. Let me tell you about Hutta and Price Orthodontics. They have been doing a great job in this area for many, many years. And as Dr. Hutta says, nobody cares what you know until they know that you care. And one thing that is for certain is at Hutta and Price Orthodontics, they care about their patients. From the time you walk in the door, you will feel that. The time you walk in the door, the very first time, they will get to know you, they will get to know about you, and they will know what is best for you. There's no question about that. So make sure that you give them a visit. Go online, find out about all of the services that they provide. Also, you can set up a free consultation. The website is lovethatsmile.net. Hutta and Price Orthodontics, lovethatsmile.net. Well, this week, the Hartley Hawks begin playoff action. They will take on Western Brown. Western Brown was a winner over Athens last week. 42-12 was the final score in that game. It is a team that scores a lot. They put up a ton of points. Some of the games that they've lost this year, they've put up 60 points in a loss. So it is going to be a wide-open, high-power offense that the Hawks are going to have to defend here in their first playoff game. They do get to play it at Jack Ryan Field. That's a great thing. Anytime you have that home field advantage, whether you can pack it full of people or if you have to go with the lesser crowd because of the COVID-19 restrictions, doesn't matter. You're still playing at home. You still have that opportunity to feel comfortable and just go out there and make the opponent uncomfortable. But this week has been uncomfortable in many ways for the Hartley Hawks. Earlier this week, they lost longtime assistant coach Chuck Wooten, who passed away. It was very much a surprise. Coach Wooten has been with the program for many, many years. He has been with Brad Burchfield throughout his tenure as head coach. He was with Dick Geyer before that. He did retire for a brief stint a couple of years ago, but he was back and everything was going well. He was doing a great job of coaching. He was doing a great job of mentoring the young men on this team. But this tragedy happened this week, and the Hartley Hawks are left to deal with that, dealing with it while they're preparing for a playoff game where it's the point of the season, lose and go home. It just adds something else to them. But this is a group that has been resilient, and they know they have to be resilient this week. And as Coach Brad Burchfield tells us, in some ways, they have a little bit more to play for. Well, Brad, normally when you're preparing for the first game of the playoffs, it's a very exciting week, but this week has been a tough week already. It's been a sad week for you with the passing of your longtime assistant coach, Chuck Wooten. He not only was an assistant for you, he was there prior to your arrival at Bishop Hartley. He's a mainstay with Bishop Hartley as a whole. What has this week been like for you personally, and then as a coach who's trying to lead these young men who are very affected by this passing?
Well, of course, it's been tough. I mean, it's been incredibly difficult and difficult on the kids and, difficult on the coaches. I mean, he's been here our whole time and been at Hartley since 1995. So he's affected a lot of lives. And so the outpouring has been, pretty overwhelming. And, we've got to show our respects to him and, by the way we handle things moving forward. And that's what he would want. That's what he wanted. That's what he did up until the very end. And so we all understand that. Doesn't mean we don't, we're heartbroken, all of us, the kids, the coaches. I mean, we're absolutely heartbroken.
Was that first practice extra tough after learning of that news?
Yeah. Well, I mean, let me tell you the whole story here. We told the kids, we met with them at 3:00 and, we said, we're going to have a meeting today and they're all worried about, what's this meeting going to be about? And I understand that. And I told them nobody's in any trouble. Nobody has corona, nothing like that. Nothing's going to be bad like that. But I need to talk to everybody face to face. And so we met with the seniors first, and obviously there was a lot of stun. And then we met with the whole team, and honestly, it was silence for about 45 minutes. I mean, just silence for 45 minutes, and we tried to do our best to break the ice, but it was very difficult. And then we went out, we practiced, and it was just like normal. We had a tremendous practice. I mean, it was great, and it was just like normal. And so I thought, well, maybe this is how we're dealing with it. And then I had a mom call me that night and said, hey, is everything okay? Because my son, he's in his room and he won't come out. And I said, well, have you read the email yet? She said, no, I just got home. and told her, and listen, here's what lesson that taught me. That teaches me that we are only stronger together, and we have to be together. And because last time I'd seen the children, they were together, and it was good, and it was, like normal. And but when we're apart, it's not as good. So I mean, it's an incredible lesson for all of us, and really hits home for me.
A couple of years ago, Coach Wooten walked away. He retired after 40 years. And then I don't know if you coaxed him or if he just missed it and he came back. Either way, he came back to join the staff once again. What did that add when he came back, and what are you going to be missing now that he's gone again?
Yeah, we're going to be missing a lot. That's not going to be able to be replaced. There's nobody we're going to hire that's going to replace him. It's not going to happen. Yeah, he retired after in 2014 we lost a tough one to Kent Central Catholic, and he had said, "This is it. I'm tired. I'm ready to be done. It's been however long, and I'm ready." And then we said, "Just stay with us 2 more years." We knew we had a really good group of kids come in, and they were ready to go, and they needed him, and he needed them. And he said, "Okay, I'll stay 2 more years." He stayed the 2 years, and obviously we did well. And then he retired. We were appreciative of it, and he still came around quite a bit. We still talk to him all the time, but it wasn't the same. I mean, when the old adage, when you're in, it's like you've never left, and when you're out of it, it's like you've never been in it. Whether it's sports or coaching or whatnot. And that was probably how he felt. And so we had gone to some baseball games together, me and him and Coach Evans, watched obviously Chris coach and all that. And he had kind of opened the door a little bit, maybe sent some smoke signals out. And so then we kind of started talking to him and said, well, this is what we want. We would like this. But without pressuring him. And he came into my class one day in April and said, let's go. And so we obviously came back last year, and we had a great year, and was ready to go this year, and had fallen ill during the summer, and never missed anything, and wanted to keep going, and gave the kids everything he had till his very last day. I mean, he gave the kids, the school, the program, everything he had till his very last day. And I mean, of all the things to be proud of, that has to be up there.
All right, just one more thing on this subject with Coach Chuck Wooten. His grandson, Joey, is on your team. He is a freshman. During the St. Charles game, not only did you get a chance to get him into the game, but he scored his first varsity touchdown. Little did you know that would be the only touchdown at the varsity level that Chuck would see Joey score. But looking back on it now, how grateful are you that opportunity presented itself, that you could get him into the game, and that he actually got to witness that?
Yeah, it was a great moment for him. And, we all got to eat afterwards, and we talked a great deal about it. And it was, it was an awesome moment for him. Joey's going to score a lot more touchdowns, and Chuck will be watching from a different vantage point. But it was a great moment, and one that I'll always be happy to be a part of.
All right, let's talk about this week's playoff game. Last week you had a bye. Originally, you thought about maybe playing a game just to stay in that routine and stay sharp. Then that plan went out the window a little bit. So you had the off week. How did you treat that? How did you keep your team sharp with that going on, and now with all of this distraction?
Honestly, this isn't as much a distraction. It's I think it's a galvanizing force more than anything. I mean, there's a lot of motivation to do well. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of motivation to do really, really well. And Chuck would be abhorred to even think of it being a distraction. I mean, he would be just mortified. And so we're not going to let it be. But we knew we were going to play Western Brown. We felt pretty good that they were going to win. So we really worked the 2 weeks on them. And they're a wide open passing team, a lot of empty, and we needed to see all that. I mean, that's an area that's going to be a point of emphasis for us all year long. So we were able to see it every day last week. Thursday, we made the decision to not play the Reigning Thunder. It just we thought better of it. We thought it was just a smarter move, and we'd had a great week of practice. If we had not had a great week of practice or needed more work done, we would have played. I regret not getting some of the kids who deserved to get in varsity games in, but we had to weigh it with everything, and that was just the best decision for us. We felt good that we knew we were going to play Western Brown, so we were preparing for them, which was really a good thing for us to have a couple weeks to do so, I think, because DeSales is more of a straight-ahead zone running team, and Western Brown's more of a wide-open passing attack. Obviously, they score a ton of points. So we were able to work on that for 2 weeks, and we've had a great 2 weeks.
Yeah, when you talk about scoring a ton of points, this is a team that has scored 50 plus points, 60 plus points in a game this year. It's like looking at some of their scores, it's amazing. And even some of the scores they've lost by are amazing this year. And really, this was kind of, in some ways, the first week you really had to work on studying an opponent because you just spent the entire regular season basically in the CCL. So when it came to preparing for Waterson, you just had to look back 2 weeks to the film from that game that you played. And the same with DeSales. Was it nice from a coaching standpoint to have to go out and do that extra work and drum it up on an opponent you haven't seen?
Well, it's fun. I mean, it's fun to try to figure out what do they want to do, how do they want to do it. I mean, we feel pretty good about what Waterson and DeSales want to do. We've played them so many times. They've had the same coaching staff, and they're really good at what they do. But we kind of have a good idea of how they're going to try to attack us. We don't know how Western Brown's going to attack us. We don't know. I mean, they're a hurry up, air raid offense, and that's awesome. But everyone has its own little flavor to it. So we got to kind of try to learn about as much as we can with them on what their flavors are and how they execute. And so that's been pretty fun, who their best players are, how their best players are going to match up with our best players. It's been interesting and fun to try to study some of that stuff. But yeah, it's the playoffs. That's the neat part about the playoffs is you play teams from different parts of the state, and they're scoring a gazillion points, obviously. And how does their style of play match up to our style of play in this part of the state? That's really interesting and neat.
Well, the one team that did kind of spread it out on you during the season was Waterson. They were the team that they would come out and throw 4 and 5 wide receiver sets at you. How does that compare to what you're going to see this week against Western Brown?
I think they're somewhat similar. I think they have similar ideas of how they want to deploy the passing game. And Waterson became more of an empty team as the year went by. They started moving their quarterback around. The quarterback made great improvements. This guy from Western Brown is really, really good. They have a lot of similar pass concepts to one of them. And I look at Waterson, and we've held Waterson to their lowest point total of the year, but they scored more points on us than anybody did all year. So how do we match up with that? How do we get better with that? A couple of the routes that Waterson exploited us with, of course, Western Brown's going to try to do the same thing. So we've worked like heck on how to defend those and what the best way to do that is.
When you've looked at the line play specifically and watch what they do on their line and know what you have on your lines, what do you see there, and how important is that line play going to be overall?
Well, really important for us to be disciplined and stay on rules because you just don't know where they're coming from or how they're lining up. I mean, they are they're very aggressive defensively, and they take a lot of I don't want to say chances, but they're very aggressive. I think that's the best way to say it. So they're coming from a lot of different angles, and we've got to do a good job picking that up if we're going to be successful.
Now, when you're talking about a high-powered offense on the other side, isn't it true the best way to defend that is by keeping them off the field? So if you get the running game going the way that you normally have it going, the way that you want to have it going, that should be an advantage, right?
Listen, I've never believed that. And let me see if I can follow my math here. Every time we have the ball, we can only score 1 touchdown. Every time they have to get the ball back after – no matter what, they can only score 1 touchdown, then we have to get the ball back. So it evens out that way. So I've never really, and we've been in games where guys scored in 15 seconds and we scored in 8 minutes, and it still counted 7-7. So when we have what more important to us, when we have the ball, we need to score. When they have the ball, we need to stop them from scoring. And what is it really threatening for them is they will, time after time after time, they'll have an incompletion on first down, maybe a run for 2 yards or something not as positive on second down, and they'll be 3rd and 8, and they'll convert these 3rd downs. They're really good in 3rd downs and conversions, and we have to do a good job of that. We can't just tell the kids, hey, sit at the sticks, because then they're going to hit you deep and hit the wheels and the rub routes and all these kind of things to get guys open. So we've got to do a good job defending them. That's the bottom line. When they have the ball, we have to make sure they don't score, and when we have the ball, we have to make sure we score.
Is one of the best ways to defend that pass coverage a good pass rush?
Yeah, I think so, but it's always a challenge because they protect really, really well. That's all they do. They're in 2-point stances. They have good weight back on their heels, and they're protecting. And you can tell that's what they rep, and that's what they do all the time. So you have to gauge to the quarterback. If we can get to the quarterback, we're going to keep coming at him. If we can't get to him, we got to make some adjustments, whether it's games on the defensive line, whether it's mixing up coverages. We have to do a good job with that.
All right, and finally, tackling. In the games you've had trouble with this year, you've had a hard time tackling. Go back to that last DeSales game. Jonathan Thompson had the ball so many times, couldn't find ways to bring him down. When you're playing a team like this, it's going to spread it out. A lot of times you can get into those one-on-one tackling situations. How important is it going to be just to wrap guys up and bring them down this week?
Yeah, no question. It's going to be crucial because they're going to make some completions. They're going to catch the football. We have to do a great job tackling, and that kind of goes to a bigger issue: is we've got to win our one-on-ones, and we've played a great schedule, and it's going to be interesting to see how we match up with people outside of that.
Well, Brad, thank you very much, and of course, best of luck this week.
All right, thanks, Bob.
That is Hartley Hawks head coach Brad Burchfield. Let's talk a little bit more about Western Brown and what they have done this year. First of all, they have never won a playoff game. They are 0-3 all-time in the postseason. But this is a team that is averaging just under 48 points per game. They have scored 61 in the game. They've scored 54 in a game. So they do know how to put points on the board. There's no question about that. And the Hawks are going to have to really account for the quarterback, Drew Novak. In the win last week, he rushed for 85 yards on 8 carries. He also completed 8 of 15 passes for 115 yards and a touchdown. Logan Campbell caught that touchdown, and he is a guy that the Hawks are going to have to look to defend the most when it comes to wide receivers. And also, when it comes to the running back position, well, they're going to be challenged there again as well, because Cade Chisholm, the running back, he has rushed 21 times for 138 yards. That's as a quarterback. So he's a running back, but he can get to the quarterback position as well and do some running from there. So they're going to see him all over the field. And, you know, as Coach Burchfield said, they're going to have to wrap guys up. They're going to have to tackle guys. They're going to have to be on their game. I think they're going to have to bring their A game when it comes to defending the pass. No question about it. And sometimes making that read. Is this going to be a pass? Is this going to be a run? You know, you look back at that first DeSales game when Nicky Pentello was playing quarterback for DeSales. That was one where there were a lot of options for him and whether he would run it or pass it. The Hawks struggled with that at times. There's not going to be a lot of room for struggle here by any means. And even though Coach Burchfield talked about the fact he can have an 8-minute drive, they can have a 15-second drive and still score the same number of points, you know, the Hawks will want to work the clock. That's their game anyway. Running the football, power running the football, chewing up clock. And, you know, even though it is true that they could score in 15 seconds, even if it takes you 8 minutes and 15 seconds, if you can control that clock, if you can burn up the most of it and leave them with no time when it's all said and done, well, that's a good formula too. So it's really going to be interesting to watch and see what happens when these two teams get together. 7 o'clock, the kickoff is set for Friday night. We've got the game for you here on the Hartley YouTube channel. I will be joined by Matt Barnes for the call on Friday. The weather's going to cool off. It's going to be football weather. There's no question about it. And it's playoff time in Central Ohio. The Hartley Hawks taking on Western Brown Friday night at 7 o'clock. Till then, I'm Bob McElligott saying so long, and thanks for watching Hartley Football Game Day. It's been brought to you by Hutta and Price Orthodontics.